That night, the cold wind swept through the quiet streets, carrying a faint mist. Ethan pulled his jacket tight around him as he walked past rows of old shops. He had never been interested in antiques, but today, for some reason, a tiny shop at the corner caught his eye. A worn wooden sign creaked above the entrance, the faded letters barely visible. Antiques. Every item holds a story. Ethan hesitated for a moment, then pushed the door open. A soft chime rang as he stepped inside. The air smelled of old wood, dust, and something faintly sweetened scents, maybe. The dim yellow light cast long shadows over the shelves, filled with strange trinkets, carved wooden statues, dusty leather-bound books, delicate music boxes playing eerie melodies. But one thing caught his attention. A ring dotted sat inside a small glass case near the counter. It wasn't shiny like regular jewelry. Instead, it had a dull gold color, engraved with intricate symbols swirling round a small stone at the center.
You have a good eye.
"Hello," raspy voice broke the silence. Ethan turned, startled. An old man with silver hair and piercing eyes stood behind the counter, watching him with an expression that sent a shiver down his spine. It felt like the man had been expecting him.
"This ring, is it special?"
Ethan asked, pressing his fingers against the glass case. The old man smiled slightly, but there was something unsettling about it.
It is not for everyone, but if you have seen it, perhaps it has chosen you.
Ethan chuckled.
"Chosen me? You make it sound like some kind of prophecy."
The old man didn't laugh. He unlocked the case, carefully took out the ring, and placed it in Ethan's hand. The moment Ethan's fingers touched the metal, a chill ran through his body, sharp and sudden. Like stepping into ice water. He shook it off. "Just my imagination."
"How much?"
he asked. The old man's face darkened. His voice dropped to a whisper.
It has no price, but if you take it, remember this: never wear it at night. Never.
Ethan frowned.
"Why not?"
The old man simply looked at him, his silence heavy with meaning. Ethan hesitated, but eventually slipped the ring into his pocket and left the shop. That night. Ethan sat on his bed, turning the ring between his fingers. The old man's warning echoed in his mind.
Never wear it at night.
He glanced at the clock. 11:57 p.m. Ethan smoked.
"Superstitions."
Without thinking twice, he slid the ring onto his index finger. A wave of cold rushed up his arm. He shivered but ignored it. Nothing else happened. With a shrug, he turned off the lamp, pulled the blanket over himself, and closed his eyes. A faint sound echoed through the room. Ethan's eyes fluttered open. The room was dark, except for the dim glow of the street lamp outside. Footsteps. His breath hitched. His heart pounded in his chest. Someone was in the room. The air felt heavier, colder. A slow, icy breath brushed against the back of his neck. Ethan swallowed hard. His body was stiff, paralyzed by fear. Slowly, he turned his head. A figure stood in the middle of the room, dressed in a long black coat. Its face was pale, almost lifeless. Sunken eyes, hollow and dark, stared straight at him. Its lips curled, but it wasn't a smile. It was something much worse. Ethan wanted to scream, to move, to do anything, but he couldn't. His body refused to obey. The figure lifted a bony hand and pointed directly at the ring on Ethan's finger. A voice, deep and ragged, filled the room.
"You belong to me."
The walls round Ethan seemed to twist and bend, warping unnaturally. The figure's hand reached out, barely grazing Ethan's shoulder. A stabbing cold shot through his skin. His vision blurred, his breath caught in his throat. Ethan gasped and sat up, drenched in sweat. His room was normal. The street lamp still flickered outside his desk. His chair, everything was exactly as it had been, a dream. His hands trembled as he looked down. The ring was still on his finger. The small stone at its center was glowing a deep blood red.